The rain had not stopped falling on Fort Calder Air Base for 3 days, and Lieutenant Maya Reyes stood alone in the maintenance hangar, staring at a helicopter no one else wanted to touch. They called it the Widowmaker, an aging heavy lift transport with a reputation for engine stalls and instrument failures. Most pilots on base avoided it the way sailors avoid a cursed ship. Maya had flown it 17 times. She was the only one who trusted it because she was the only one who understood every bolt and wire inside its aging frame. A T-26, Maya had already spent 4 years fighting to be taken seriously. She had grown up in a trailer outside a dust-colored town in Nevada, taught herself to fly on a crop duster her uncle could barely keep running, and earned her wings through discipline no one on this base had bothered to notice. That night, the alarm sirens tore through the storm. A 12-man special operations team was trapped on a collapsing ridge 200 miles north, pinned by flooding and a landslide that had cut off every road. Command needed an extraction, and they needed it now. But every qualified heavy lift pilot on base was grounded by weather minimums or already deployed elsewhere. Commander Wyatt Cole, the leader of the trapped team, radioed base with a voice raw from exhaustion and cold. "We need someone who can fly this beast through that storm, or we are not making it out." The room of officers fell silent. No one volunteered. The winds outside had climbed past safe limits for every pilot certified on the newer aircraft. Maya stepped forward from the back of the room, her boots still wet from the hangar. "I can." Colonel Briggs turned toward her, disbelief written across his face. "That old bird has not passed a full inspection in months, Lieutenant." "I know every inch of her," Maya said. "I have flown her in worse." Nobody backed her claim. Nobody offered support. But there was no other option, and time was running out for 12 men clinging to a crumbling mountainside. She climbed into the cockpit alone. Since the base's only qualified co-pilot had been injured earlier that week, lightning cracked across the sky as she lifted off, the old rotors screaming against wind that tried to throw her back to the ground. For 40 minutes she fought the storm, using instincts built from years of quietly studying every gauge and gear the Widowmaker possessed. The instruments flickered. The cabin shook. At one point the tail rotor lost pressure entirely, and Maya corrected the spin using nothing but muscle memory and the sound of the engine itself. When she finally broke through the cloud line above the ridge, she saw them, 12 exhausted men huddled against a rock face, waving flares into the black sky. Commander Cole stared up at the aircraft descending through impossible wind, and for a moment he could not believe what he was seeing. "That is the grounded bird," one of his men shouted. "Who is insane enough to fly that thing tonight?" Maya brought the helicopter down onto a ledge barely wide enough for the landing gear, holding it steady as the storm tried to rip her from the sky. One by one, the soldiers climbed aboard, soaked and shivering, disbelief plain on every face when they saw who sat in the pilot's seat. Commander Cole climbed in last, his eyes locking onto hers through the dim cockpit light. "You are the one who volunteered." "I am the one who was ready," Maya answered. The flight back was no easier than the flight out, but Maya guided the aircraft through the worst of the storm with a calm that steadied every man on board. When the base lights finally appeared through the rain, a wave of quiet relief settled over the cabin. They landed hard but safe, and the moment the rotors slowed, the exhausted team stepped out into a crowd of officers who had gathered to see what no one believed possible. Commander Cole was the first to speak, his voice carrying across the tarmac. "This woman flew a grounded aircraft through the worst storm this base has seen in a decade, and she brought 12 of my men home alive." Colonel Briggs, the same man who had doubted her hours earlier, stepped forward and extended his hand. "I owe you an apology." "Lieutenant Reyes," Maya shook his hand, exhaustion finally catching up to her. "Just doing my job, sir." But it was more than that, and everyone standing on that tarmac knew it. It was the quiet years of preparation nobody had seen. It was the discipline built when no one was watching. It was proof that the people who are overlooked are often the ones who are most ready when everything falls apart. 3 weeks later, the base formally requested a full restoration of the old aircraft, along with a new assignment for its pilot. Maya was given command of her own unit, the first time in the base's history that a woman had led the heavy lift division. She never forgot the storm or the moment she stepped forward when no one else would. She carried that lesson with her for the rest of her career. Sometimes the person the world overlooks is exactly the person the world needs most. If this story moved you, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing what part touched you, And subscribe for more emotional stories about courage, dignity, and the quiet heroes who rise when it matters most.